Welcome back to the Keep It or Change Cars podcast. I'm Nicky Nash, your host, and as always, I'm not alone. I am with the great Michael Peshit. How are you?
A guy who looks up to you in the way you dress. You look amazing in white. You look great in blue jeans. So what did I decide to do? I copied you. And it's pure coincidence that we dressed the same. I promise you.
Yeah, but today I think it's a very powerful episode. So before we actually get into the episode, guys, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on our Instagram page. Follow us on our TikTok page. It's very important to comment, get your thoughts in, so we can speak about them on the podcast.
The comments for me are everything. You look at TikTok and you see we'll make a comment, then another viewer makes a comment, and people agree or disagree. Yeah. I just absolutely love it. Remember, there's no right or wrong. It's only your opinion. I'll always say 2 + 2 is 4. Everything else is an opinion.
100%. I love the interactions because, especially on TikTok, you find that someone will comment, then the other person will comment, then they'll have like a back and forth if they're disagreeing about something. But that, at the end of the day, they're both educating each other in the comment section.
What I do find, and I love that, is the people that are commenting, they're commenting genuinely. If I disagree with you, that's fine. What's the best color for a car? You say blue, I say white. Who's right? Neither of us are right. It's a case of, it's an opinion, but 100%. Absolutely loving it. And we've got a lot to talk about today.
Do you want to tell the audience what the theme is today?
Keep it or change cars. Our name says it all. And today we really want to introduce that. So we're going to talk about a car, and then we're going to say to you, if you had it, would you keep it or would you?
Change it. Change cars, essentially.
If you're going to change cars, visit changecars.co.za. That's what helps us pay the bills.
100%.
So talking about keep it or change cars, I've said it many times, I don't go to many launches. You were away in beautiful Cape Town,
yes,
admiring the scenery.
Yes, 100%.
But there was more to the scenery. There was Nissan Magnite. Nissan Magnite, for me, is now the mainstay of the Nissan group. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, 100%. I think we see a lot more Nissan Magnites than any other Nissan, and I think they're realizing that, and I think that's why they went for an updated Nissan Magnite.
So I've always been a fan of the looks of the Magnite. However, I think it's fair to say, and I don't think too many people would disagree, the quality of the interior in particular on the original Magnite was decent, but it definitely wasn't standout. Has that improved?
I think on one aspect of the interior, so not much of the interior has changed. The only thing that I noticed in terms of interior that changed was the seats. So when you're in the higher spec model, the seats are a bit more different. So you can get nice. Black leather wrapped seats with some orange inserts. I think it goes in the color of the car. If the color is orange, then the seats can have orange. If the color of the car is blue, then the seats are blue. But quality-wise, overall quality is still the exact same as the Magnite that we all know.
So I've always said a car is about two things for me: the way it looks and the way it drives. I've always, from the instant it arrived in South Africa, I've loved the dimensions, I've loved the look of the Nissan Magnite. I think they've tweaked it a little bit, same, but different.
Yeah.
It's magnificent. Now, talking about keep it or change cars, you're a Golf lover. The Golf 5 comes out, you change it from your Golf 4. Golf 6 comes out, you aspire to that. You look at the new Magnite, you've got a 2021-22 Magnite. Would you want to change it, or is it not enough of a progression?
No, it's not enough. For me personally, it's not enough of a progression.
Interesting.
As much as it's a facelift, with the old Magnite, you really won't tell the difference. So for me, honestly, and also looking at the pricing of the top of the range. So
coming in at just under 400? What's it coming in at now? Just over 400?
The top of the range,
yes.
Nissan Magnite is 410,700 Rand.
410. But it's amazing. We often think of cars as expensive in South Africa, and there's no question they are. But go onto an overseas forum, Australia, Canada, UK, New Zealand, England, you name it. What are they talking about in terms of car pricing?
The same thing.
Absolutely. So it's interesting. When you think of pricing, you think, oh, cars are so expensive in South Africa. We're all paying fundamentally the same price. If the mother market is Japan, whether you're in America or South Africa, where do the cars come from? Japan. The pricing fundamentally is the same. Price of fuel is the same, but car prices have gone through the roof. What's the next launch you're going to?
I don't have, actually. I think it's more towards the end of the year now. So
priorities. You see, it's all about the podcast. All about the podcast.
Yeah, I think I don't have a launch coming up. I just have a couple of test cars before we wrap up the year. I think also manufacturers are did all their launches. They're closing up, basically preparing for the end of the year so they can prepare for the next
It's
year.
amazing. We're in the middle of November, but like in many ways, the year is over.
Yeah.
Our minds are on Plettenberg Bay, Durban, Cape Town, wherever it may be.
Yes, 100%. So you actually brought up a point with the Golf 5 and the Golf 6 and the Golf 7.
If you find
and
one,
the
I'll
Golf
buy
8.
it.
Do you think, well, for you, do you think the changes from those vehicles were enough for someone that owns a Golf 5 to move to a Golf 6 or Golf 6 or Golf 7?
So I've said it many times. I am not a big fan of a revolution. I love evolution. Let's take the Golf 4 as an example. The Golf 4 was a very specific shape. Looked, I wouldn't even say similar to Golf 3, but then the Golf 5 came out and it was just next level. 5 to 6, evolution. 6 to 7, evolution. Would you agree with me on
Yes,
that?
yeah, 100%.
But the point on that is, with a Golf, you always want to have the latest. If you parked a 2024 Nissan Magnite next to a 2022, and they were both in excellent condition, your average person will say, same car. Whereas with Golf, it's a brand awareness that they've created. I've got a 5, the 6 is coming out, even the Golf 8.5. Where did they come out with the 8.5? That is such clever marketing. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the Golf 8.5 was actually showcased, I think, a month ago, globally. It's coming to South Africa next year. So
And the Golf 8's already new.
Golf 8 is already, Golf 8 is a 2021 model.
Amazing.
2021 model. But you put a Golf 8 and a Golf 8.5 side by side, you can tell the difference.
Fair enough. So Golf 8 can have COVID. A Golf 8.5 can't have
Kind
COVID.
of COVID. So actually, good point that you brought up the 8.5. So obviously, so from the 8 and the 8.5, the main features is this different wheels, different tail lights, and the main thing is when you get into the interior. So essentially, in the Golf 8, the touchscreen infotainment system is like I think it's a 10-inch.
Right.
It starts at 8, and then you can upgrade to a 10-inch. But the 8.5 has a bigger touchscreen infotainment system. I
Amazing.
think, if I'm not mistaken, around 10.5, and that 12.5.
12.5.
And that 12.5 is actually quite big. Like I'll put the pictures on
Yeah,
so you guys
it's
can see
incredible.
so you see what I'm talking about. So now, for you, well, for the audience as well, do new features in a new car determine whether you're gonna keep it or change cars?
So for me personally, and I'm on record as saying this, you talk about these 10-inch, 12-inch, 26-inch touchscreens, where you're going to put the steering wheel soon. I do not like it at all. I'm a creature of habit. My everyday car is a 2011 Porsche Cayenne. Now, you think of that, wow, nice fancy car. That's an old car, 13 years old. What do I love the most about that car? The performance is
I was about
pretty
to say, I was
impressive.
about to say the performance, but
The simplicity of itself. When I want to make the radio louder, don't know if you know how to make a radio louder in an old car. You go from left to right. When you want to program a channel, you find a channel and you hold the button. And yes, maybe I'm getting older. I absolutely love it. So to answer your question, features personally will never make me change. That's just me. I wish they would go a little bit backwards in features.
in terms of features.
Absolutely. Yourself, the opposite?
Car dependent, honestly. I think it's car dependent. Looking at the Golf 8 and the Golf 8.5, I think the features in the 8.5 would make me want to get the 8.5. But in certain vehicles, I don't think the features, like if I were to use the Asian counterparts, because I'm not allowed to say that word.
Those
If I
cars
use-
that are made in Beijing and surrounds.
Yes, if I use those cars, they already come with such a big touchscreen infotainment system.
Yes.
So I can imagine new features in that vehicle, or even the vehicle I'm actually driving now, driving the P500 right now.
Yes.
It already has such a big screen. So I can imagine 2-3 years down the line,
Yes.
how can it get bigger than what that is already? So in that aspect of like, I don't think I'd want new features because it already has so much to offer.
But what is so interesting, and I've said it many times before, there is no right and there's no wrong.
Yeah.
I take Melanie, my girlfriend. She loves the latest shape. So allow me to explain. If she had a top-of-the-range 2022 car, and in 2023 the new one came out, and I said to her, top-of-the-range older shape, not old shape, but
Yeah.
older shape, or bottom-of-the-range new shape, what's she going with?
Bottom of the range, new shape.
How do you explain this? Why would I want to drive an old shaped car? Wherever I go, people aren't looking at the badge, they're just looking at, is it the latest? And then I mentioned I'm driving a 2011 Porsche Cayenne. Quite happy with that, guys.
So clearly, you love Porsche.
Just for the record, allow me to repeat. Clearly, I do love the Porsche brand.
You do love the Porsche brand. So speaking about the Porsche brand and brand loyalty, I think this is where I wanna take the next
Interesting.
conversation.
I know where this is
So,
going.
brand loyalty for you, and looking at the country, we are very brand loyal. Like as South Africans, we are loyal to VW.
Are we?
To a certain extent.
100%.
And I'll explain. So you look at VW, we're loyal to VW. We look at BMW, we look at Toyota, we're very loyal. But to a certain extent, in terms of when pricing comes into the picture. So cars that are made in Beijing and all the way in Asia, that side, they're coming into the country at much cheaper than brand loyalty. So a lot of people will start to move from being brand loyal to allowing the new customers. Well, for you, being the cars that you have and cars that you've had, are cars that you have and had, you bought them because of brand loyalty?
100%.
All cars basically brand
So
loyalty.
it's interesting because for me, you've absolutely nailed it, and I'll say it on record. There's 5 brands I think of in South Africa where people are loyal. I take Nissan, I take Hyundai, I take Kia. A person's got a Kia, they say, oh, I'm looking for a new small car. What do you think of the new Renault? What do you think of the new Nissan? They'll swap and they'll change. There's no loyalty, and it's not because they're bad brands, but people aren't Hyundai crazy.
Yeah,
BMW,
100%.
a little bit Mercedes, definitely Toyota, definitely VW, Porsche, and lately I'm finding Land Rover. However, for the rest, people will chop and change. I see that every time. Me personally, because I'm a fan of Land Rover, because I'm a fan of Porsche, I am brand loyal. So if you said to me, do I dislike the BMW brand? Not at all. I replace a Cayenne, would I consider an X5 or an ML or GL Mercedes? Not even on my radar. Range Rover, no problem. Same with you?
Yeah, I think I'm very brand loyal to VW. I'm very brand loyal to VW. Even
I thought you were going to say you brand loyal to Citroen. Come on, be different, be dynamic.
I'm VW. Even where I'm sitting right now, as I'm thinking, after next year, what's my next car that I'm thinking? I'm easily thinking about a VW in my head. So I'm very brand loyal to VW.
But you've proved it. So when you are looking for something as a weekend car, just to build and have fun with, it was a City Golf. It wasn't any other option.
I had no other option. It was that, or I don't have a car.
You bought it for the performance, for the safety, for the luxury, and for the tech. Be honest.
The complete opposite of
what is the tech on a City Golf? The fact that it's got wind-down windows.
The tech, I could say in mine, it has central locking.
Wow.
And
go big or go home.
And an alarm system.
Yeah.
With some safety features. And it also has an airbag. I think that's something I could brag about in a 2009 City Golf.
But what is funny, and I just always have to bring up the past, in the 1990s, how times have changed. Cars used to have a gear lock. Cars used to have an immobilizer. So when I say an immobilizer, cars today in theory still have an immobilizer. Yeah. It's built in, but you don't talk about an alarm immobilizer. The immobilizer was that little tab that you put, that they drilled into your dashboard. And the alarm was, before you got in, you used to do this.
Press it.
2 or 3 times and you'd yell, quick, 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 quick. You remember that?
Yeah, 100%.
Irritating. So you've got an alarm in your car. Very, very good. That must make it worth $350 more than if it didn't have that.
100%. And I'll never let go of that car.
But I'm absolutely adamant that en masse, South Africans, and I think people worldwide, are no longer brand loyal. I know in the 1980s, if you had a Nissan, you replace it with a Nissan, because that was a car where they looked after me at the service department, and it was like that. Today, absolutely not like that. And what does that tell you about the manufacturers that we haven't mentioned? What have they failed to do?
Treating the customers, basically. Making the customers feel at home.
Making the customers feel part of the family. If you could choose one brand today, and I think you'll get it, that is going to be future brand loyal, who would you say it's going to be?
Future brand loyal, GWM.
Very possible. Funny enough, that's not who I was thinking of. I was going to say Suzuki.
Oh, yes.
I look at like the Suzuki Jimny.
100%.
You own a Jimny, you're going to replace your Jimny with the next Jimny. Talking about marketing teams and Suzuki, it is well known that I absolutely panned the marketing team from Mazda, and I believe it was well deserved. And the comments online supported that. They just say Mazda is going backwards. Suzuki marketing. Do you think those sales figures are doing what they're doing without them doing something right?
No, not at all.
Eileen Gengen, what the name of the ladies?
Megan.
Megan McDonald and
Megan
Eileen
McDonald,
Gangan.
yes.
Is it Gangan or Gangan?
I'm not sure, but that's how it's. I don't know how it's said, but you're on the right track. There's definitely
Gangan.
So she's the PR,
Yeah.
and then Megan is on top.
But it all comes down to marketing teams. At Suzuki, Megan McDonald, Eileen Gangan, to deal with you is an absolute pleasure. You look after the public, you look after the journos, you care, and that is why that brand is doing so well. Would you agree with me?
100%. They are out of, well, with the nature of my job, you usually get to speak to PR managers here and there, and they are such a good marketing team because they believe in, especially looking like from what I do. Starting out is not easy. You know
Of
what I
course.
do. So they're the ones that give you the opportunities. You want something from them. They're open to hearing you out. You want to work with them, do a campaign, do something with them. They're very open to hearing you out. Whereas other manufacturers, their PRs are not essentially open. Like, it's not a thing where, like right now, I can call Megan, I can call Eileen, I can send them a WhatsApp, but I can't say a lot about other manufacturers. So they're very open, and if you know what you want from them and you table down things exactly how you want them to be, they're very open. They'll suggest certain things for you. And I personally, I believe their success is because of the people that's running that marketing team.
You've often heard me say deserved. Look at their dealerships. Exceptional. A growing dealer network. Look at the way I myself, in my position, am talking about them. Look at the way you are talking about them from a different perspective. Again, absolute big shout out. Suzuki South Africa. Your strength is the way you do things. The public love you. When the public love you. Now, why did I say future love? Suzuki is a relatively new brand in South Africa. Yes, they were around in the 80s.
Yeah.
They kind of went away, came back in the early 2010s. But they've absolutely accelerated their products, their quality, and they are here to stay. When I used to think of a Suzuki, there's only one thing that used to come to mind. What was that?
I have no idea. Oh, bikes.
Motorbike.
Oh, yes, motorbikes. And they still have those.
100%. If you think of a Honda, okay, is it a car? Is it a motorbike? When I used to think of Suzuki, it was only motorbike. When I think of Suzuki today, I don't even think of motorbike. I think of cars. And that is when you know you're doing a great job. Yamaha, when are you bringing cars to South Africa? And Kawasaki, don't want to leave you out.
Yeah, I think to Suzuki, even like outside of being close to the PR, like how things are at the dealership. Like, out of all the dealerships that I've been to, because I do tend to go to dealerships when I have certain test cars because I find out more about the vehicles. A dealership that I go to that I find people at, the Suzuki dealership.
Amazing.
I went to a Mazda dealership when I had the CX-60 to test drive.
Mazda, refresh my memory again, the Japanese brand?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, of course, Mazda.
So when I went to that dealership to test drive one of the CX-60s, because I had a CX-60, but until you just see the main differences, I got there, it was very quiet. I think there was just maybe one other person in the dealership with me. Then I currently have a Suzuki Frank as my long-termer from Suzuki. When I took the Suzuki in, because it had to go for service and all those things, I got there, I stood in line. There was a line. That's how bad or good testimony.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So I stood in line. The line moved, got to the front. They told me 1, 2, 3. They said, okay, no, I think this was like at 12 o'clock midday. They're like, no, your car, we can book it in. Bring it back tomorrow because there's actually quite a few cars in the service department right now. Then I said, no, it's fine. I have other vehicles. You can leave each other. Like, no problem. We'll take your car. We'll pack it, and then yeah.
But you take any success in life, a wonderful school, excellent principal, excellent teachers, excellent kids, but it starts at the top. I'm saying as a principal, by example, my teachers follow, the kids see, wow, here's excellence. We talk about Suzuki, they're doing that.
100%.
Mazda, what's coming from the top?
Nothing, essentially.
Good news, guys. Your dealership might not be here next year. Absolutely a story for another day
100%.
that we've covered. Check the podcast.
So we actually mentioned the new and old features. I want you guys that are actually watching this podcast to comment down below the vehicle that you currently have, if it's not the latest one, the vehicle that you currently have, and if you would update it to the current one, if it's like the latest one of that, because of the new features. If not, tell us why you actually kept your current one and didn't upgrade to the latest one of your vehicle. Comment down below. We'll make sure to read them. And if you have any questions, you can send us a text. You can, there's the whole Ask Mike beautiful thing. Or you can comment down below. I will read them. Mike, he actually reads a lot of comments. I think he spends most of his time on TikTok more than me. But yeah, We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to speak about your questions that you guys posed in the previous podcast.
Looking to buy a new or used car? Visit ChangeCars.co.za.
Welcome back to the Keep It or Change Cars podcast. We actually covered a lot. If I could, I'd actually end the podcast there because we've covered so much. But we are not ending. We are carrying on.
We don't do half days.
We don't do half days. We're doing a full podcast for you guys. And I have two questions, yeah? The first question is a question from Petri, who's 46 years old and says his Audi A4 2-liter turbo with 103 kilometers on the clock is starting to use excessive oil. Should he keep it or change cars? What's your thoughts?
Before we answer that, we must just add that Petri said he's 46 years old, but he's gone grey from what he's dealing with. In terms of the Audi A4 2-liter turbo, I don't know how Audi's actually getting away with this. It's like the 100,000 kilometer mark is an expiry date. You look at your engine number, it's not an engine number, it's an expiry date. Without a shadow of doubt, he has to sell that car. It's just going to get worse. And I can speak from experience. My mother-in-law bought a 2010 Audi A4 2-liter turbo, 155 kilowatts, like clockwork, 100,000 kilometers. My father-in-law phoned me, says, something's strange. The car's just losing power and it feels like almost like a plug is fouled. Exactly that. The plug was fouled, full of oil. 100,000 kilometers on those 2-liter turbos is the expiry date. What would you say? Keep it, fix it, or drive through the problem? I think just sell it.
Ideally, it depends on selling it. That's one option. But the other option is depending on, obviously, we don't know how much money he makes, what he can afford. If you were to sell it, to sell it and get what is another
And that's fair enough.
question.
And I love looking at it like that.
I think if you had like more, like in terms of, yes, if he's willing to sell, what is he looking at spending monthly on a vehicle? Then we could say, okay, cool, no problem. Sell your A4. But since you say you can spend X amount of money, we can recommend size things for you. And I think if you're watching, Petri, very important, go to the Change Cars website, ask Mikey, dot everything down from if you are looking to sell, what you're willing to pay monthly, and then we'll advise you and we'll give you a good offering for moving from the Audi to something else.
So let's look at that car. The engine is kaput. It's going to cost you not less than 80,000 Rand to fix it. Now again, why I say not less than 80,000 Rand? You'll get a quote for 25, 30, 35 from the wrong guys. They're not going to be fixing it. It's 80,000 Rand. You've got one of two options. That car in that condition, I reckon, is worth about 80, 90,000 Rand maximum, because it's fully paid up. Remember, 2010, he's had it since new. It's fully paid up. You can't afford to go spend 6, 7, 8,000 Rand a month on installments. 80,000 Rand, if you've got it cash, fantastic, fix it. If you don't have it, you're going to take out a personal loan. It's going to cost you 3,000 Rand a month. You're going to pay it off over 36 months. Where do you sell a car like that? There's only one place that will take that car.
What place is that? I want you to say it.
WBC. And that doesn't stand for the World Boxing Council. No, do you remember the WBA, WBC? Whenever I think of WBC.
Boxing.
Now, to their credit, We Buy Cars are open when they say they will buy anything. That is a beauty and why that brand is doing so well. You've got a score, or so to speak. They will find out it's a score. You're not going to pull the wool over their eyes.
Yeah.
But equally, when you're going to find a car and you see a luxury German car with 104,000 kilos at this excellent price, because remember, he's going to get 80, 90,000 Rand, they're going to disclose engine using oil.
Yeah, and
they will disclose it. And he's going to pay 129,000 Rand. Is he getting a bargain? I'm talking about the new buyer, he or she, or are they getting a piece of junk?
They think they're getting a bargain, but they're not, essentially.
Alternatively, a scrapyard, do the right thing and don't let that car go back onto the road. But fundamentally, my personal advice is sell it, get rid of it.
So the second question is from Temukosi from Alberton. He has a 2013 VW Jetta with 221,000 kilometers on the clock and better than good service record. The only issue is the aircon pump is gone. Should he keep it or change cars?
So now I'm going to give the opposite advice. Number one, I absolutely love the VW Jetta. He has not got a mechanical problem. Aircon pump is nothing.
Yeah.
I spoke about scrapyard just now. At a scrapyard, that pump, I promise you, will be freely available because it's not unique to the Jetta. It will be the same in the Golf, the Jetta, the Passat, etc. What is an aircon pump going to cost him?
I think I scraped at nothing less than 2,000 rand, honestly.
2, 3, 4, even 5,000 rand. He's got a car. What did he say about the service record?
Better than good.
Not giving him a single day's trouble. That's fully paid up. What do I love the most about the Jetta? I'm a huge Passat and Jetta fan for one reason. What is it? Let's see if you can guess.
I don't know. I can't say space. Oh,
The boot.
space. Boot space.
Have you opened up the
Yeah.
boot in a Jetta? It's like, hello. I can put 4 suitcases in here.
100%.
I think it looks good, drives nice. How much of a theft risk is a Jetta?
It's not a theft risk at all.
Now, that's why it's so important. It's not always a clear-cut yes or no. Somebody could turn it around and say, you know what, the car hasn't given you trouble, 231,000 Ks, you're going to get 60, 70, 80,000 Rand for it. Don't worry about fixing the aircon, disclose that the aircon's giving trouble, and take it and put it into a new car. The fact that he can avoid paying a monthly installment, if he had to replace that car, not less than 9 to 10,000 Rand a month installment, you know what I'll do if he wants to be clever? If you can afford 9 to 10,000 Rand, take that 10,000 Rand, put it away, put it in the bank. After 1 year, 120 grand. That car's going to give you another 2 years. Now you've got a 240,000 Rand deposit, plus your 70, 80, 300,000 Rand deposit. Now it makes sense. But
Yeah, because essentially with the car that he's driving, if you were to sell it right now, he won't get a better vehicle than the car he's driving.
if he had to spend an extra 150,000 Rand, take the 70, 80, whatever the car's worth, roughly, and say, you know what, I'm going to spend 250,000 Rand. I promise you, the way that car drives, this space, I think it looks good. I love the look of that Jetta.
100%.
For 250,000 Rand, he'll go backwards. But now what's interesting, both German cars.
And I know where he's going with this.
I get asked the question all the time, Michael, I've got 250, 300,000 Rand to spend. What should I buy? I see beautiful Audi A4s, BMW 3 Series, Mercedes C-Class, Volvos, etc. Or I buy a Cherry or a Magnite or a Kia. And it's not knocking the cars, but there's a perception, luxury German car, even though it's second-hand, it's prestige, it's comfort, it's luxury, versus a Japanese or Korean car, Chinese. What would you say? Do you or can you buy a high mileage German car?
No. Unless it's going to be that German car that you've loved, you really like it, you really want to have it, and it's just going to sit in the garage, it's not going to be your daily driver. You have
You're about sitting in the garage, you're talking about your parking garage, not the mechanical garage.
Parking garage. I think, for me, personally, the only time I could justify buying a luxurious vehicle that has over 100,000 Ks is a vehicle that you have an attachment to. You've always wanted it, and you have other vehicles that you can drive. This is the one that you drive once a week or twice a month.
Sure.
Then, surely I could be like, okay, no. Using an example, yes, go buy the BMW E36 M3. That makes sense. But if I have 200,000 Rand, and I look at a BMW E46 M3 and I don't have any other vehicle, like I don't have a car, this is the car that I'm going to buy, then definitely I'll tell you no, don't. Because you're going to buy that vehicle, going to give you problems.
100%.
You're going to fix a diff, you're going to fix a gearbox, and those things in these vehicles are not cheap.
So let's make it nice and easy. I want you to ask me the question, Michael, would you buy a high mileage German car? I've got the perfect answer. I want to share it.
Would you buy a high mileage German car?
You want the short answer or the long answer?
The short answer.
I'm going to give you both. Short answer is no. The long answer is allow me to explain. What do you consider high mileage? I'm going to give you an example. What is high mileage for you? Over how much?
For me, once you're playing around 140, 150,000.
Spot on. So look at our first question. 100,000, the vehicle is giving trouble. So let's use a real world example. The year is 2017. You go buy yourself a brand new Audi, BMW or Mercedes. You've got a 5-year maintenance plan, freeway plan, etc. For the next 5 years, is it fair to say that car is meticulously maintained?
Mm-hmm.
No question.
Yeah.
Because you're not paying for it. You send it to the workshop, they fix everything. Now the car's out of maintenance plan. The year is 2022. The car's got 80, 90, 100,000. Your time is up. You take it for its next service, which you are paying for. They give you a quote. The quote is 35,000 Rand. But wait a second. This car feels absolutely perfect. 10,000 Rand of that is maybe brake pads, your oil, your filters, etc. You tell them, go ahead, and follow where I'm going. You tell them, go ahead. They stamp the book, your 110,000 kilometer service is done. No problem. But you think, wow, they wanted 25,000 Rand to fix this on the suspension and this on the handbrake and this on the exhaust. They're mad. Come the 120,000 kilometer service. You go back to the same Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Volvo, whatever the case may be, and now your quote is for 45,000 Rand. But something has changed. It's still 8 to 10,000 Rand for the lubrication and the basics that are wear and tear items. But now you started to hear that noise. And what I told you you needed to do 10,000 kilometers ago on the suspension, you're actually now feeling it. So where am I going with this? This car has stopped being maintained properly 20,000 kilometers ago. What do you do, Nikki, as the owner? You say, go ahead, do the service, the basics, stamp my book, so your car still got the full service record. You agree?
Yeah, 100%.
And as the owner, now you see this car is feeling different and it's starting to cost you money. What do?
Sell it.
100%. So now the picture's clear. The sucker who goes and sees that car on a garage floor with 123,000 Ks.
Full service history.
Full service history. But that car hasn't been maintained to the absolute specification for maybe 2 years. Why did the previous owner sell it? Not because he wanted the new shape, not because he got bored of a black interior or a cream interior. He sold it because it's giving trouble. Long and short, a German car, Swedish car with high mileage is going to be costly to maintain. It stopped being maintained properly months and thousands of kilometers ago. Short answer, don't do it. You've just received the long answer.
The long answer. So you see what happens when you guys ask us questions on the podcast. We'll advise you and in depth, and we'll give you practical examples. So please comment if you're looking to sell a vehicle, if you're looking to buy a vehicle, if you want more advice on whether you should keep your vehicle, even if it's giving you a problem. The Ask Mike is there. I'll put it on the screen. You should be seeing it now on the play video. But yeah, we're going on a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this beautiful podcast with some good topics. And then yeah, that's about it.
Need advice? Visit changecars.co.za and click on the Keep It or Change Cars tab.
Welcome back to the Keep It or Change Cars podcast. We've spoken about so much with Michael Pashit as always. But today, towards the end now, I actually want to speak about, for you, what do you think is the most popular vehicle in the country?
So we're talking about brand or particular example?
Particular example. Brand is quite obvious. I think particular certain vehicle.
So Citroen, obviously, as the brand, is the most popular, but now which model? So
in South Africa.
In South Africa. So for me, it's interesting. There are a couple of candidates. Ranger, Hilux, Polo. But I promise you, you'll never guess what I'm going to say. Now, I want you to think out the box. So I've said Polo, I've said Ranger, I've said Hilux. They're great sellers, okay? You can think of 3 Series, whatever. What is the most popular sold car in South Africa? Watch. Not going to get it.
Sold car.
Nothing that you or I or 99% of the listeners and viewers would even consider. Come on, Nikki.
Would you consider it?
Not a chance.
Not for you, but would you consider it?
Not a chance. Not me, and even if I had 15 friends who wanted to go on holiday with me, would I consider it?
I know what you're talking about.
Toyota Quantum.
Yes.
Without a shadow of doubt, the Toyota Hiace Quantum, because now the name has changed back to the Hiace, not the Zola Bud, Seswakile. What is the most sold car in South Africa? I think it is a Quantum, or am I wrong?
It should be. That or a single cab Hilux.
Very possible. But I don't get cut off by single cab Hiluxes every day in traffic. I get cut off by Toyota Quantums.
Fair enough. Good point.
but it's amazing. But what is incredible, you name the category, Toyota is there. Fortuner, Hilux, Quantum, Corolla, you name it, they're there. Well done to Toyota.
100%. I think Toyota, in the country, they're just there at the number one spot, and I think it will take forever for them to get dethroned from the number one spot.
We speak about Ask Mikey. If I say to you, the last time I had a question about a Toyota's mechanical issues was when I was 18. And I've often said, if ever you doubt a brand, don't consider it. So if you have to ask, is the engine on A reliable? You're only asking it why?
Because you're doubting.
Because you're doubting it and you've heard somebody else say it. Has anybody ever said, is a Toyota Hilux 2.8 diesel engine reliable?
Not at all.
Silly question, short answer.
So, what do you think people that own Toyotas, like, let's say the Hilux, what do they say about their vehicle? How do they describe their vehicle, like in a few words or in one word?
It's like politics, like if you're a Republican, you don't understand how people can go Democrat and vice versa. Person who owns a Toyota Hilux in one word, no, a few words. Ford Ranger mense jy's mal. But now, interesting, because you've just given me an idea. So we're talking about in a few words. A car, anybody's car. You can have a Hilux, how would you describe it? A workhorse. You can have a Citroen C3, how would you describe it? Chic. What do you think in terms of a few words? How would you describe certain cars? I think we should put it to the audience.
Yeah, I was about to say that. So if you own a vehicle, or you'd love to own a vehicle, I think. So if you own one or you'd love to own one, tell us, how would you describe your vehicle? Is it a workhorse? Is it chick magnet? Because I know you Polo drivers are most probably thinking of that.
Chick magnet, I love that. I haven't heard that term. Well, that term hasn't been said to me for years, but I haven't heard that term, chick magnet. That is brilliant.
So how would you guys describe your car? So I just gave you guys an example. Please, guys, comment. Let us know what car you drive, so that we know, so we can put it. So if you say I drive a Hilux, like you said, and you write workhorse, it would make sense. So if you drive a Polo, you write chick magnet, it makes sense. A Picanto, those type of things. So just write your car name and how you describe the vehicle in your own words, and then we'll make sure to read them.
But what is just interesting, and I would love to bring it up. I mean, again, we always joke, you won't remember the 60s, and neither will I, because I wasn't born in the 60s. But from the 1970s, Toyota in South Africa, late 70s, absolutely accelerated and became the trusted brand. When Toyota came to South Africa in the 60s, factually, what was it referred to as? When it came in, remember, we had Mercedes, we had BMW, you had established brands at the time, okay, mainly German, British, etc. How do they refer to Toyota?
I have no idea.
Jap crap. And that is not being rude, that is just a fact. Anybody that was around at that time, ask your parents, ask your grandparents. Why do I mention Jap crap? You go from a perception, do it right, do it very right, do it incredibly right, and you are the standout leader. That is why there's not a brand in South Africa today. It can be from Alfa Romeo to Volvo and everything in between. That if you do the marketing, the after sales, the pricing right, that won't allow you to rise to the top. Would you agree with me on that?
100%. You actually just gave me a brand that's actually coming back into the country. When it left the country, I was not into the motor industry like that. So I decided to not do my research on why it left the country.
Photon.
So I could leave it on, not Photon. MG. So
MG.
MG is coming back into the country. I remember growing up, I saw a couple of MGs. My uncle once upon a time wanted an MG. And I didn't get it, like, why an MG,
Yes.
so because it was, at that time I couldn't drive. I was not into cars like that, all those things. So for you, what do you think about MG as the brand and them coming back into the country?
So interesting. So when I think of MG, I only think British. If I think of Jaguar, I think of British. If I think of racing and the British flag, they call it British Racing Green. MG, let me tell you, for me will always be British. It's being brought back into South Africa under a Chinese brand, am I correct?
Yeah.
However, have you seen what they look like?
Yeah, I saw, because they took a few journalists
They
to
look
China.
amazing.
I was like, wow. I just forgot the name now, but there's this red one that I saw pictures of, like the drop top electric supercar. I'm like, whoa, what?
Proper. Remember earlier I said there's two things that excite me on a car. The way it drives and the way it looks. But before I drive it, and before I love the way it drives, what has to appeal to me?
How it looks, because you see it first.
100%. Have you ever heard that saying, if you park your car and you don't look back, what are you doing?
Bought the wrong car.
You got the wrong car. But I mean, whoever coined that phrase, it's the truth.
It's true.
MG are going to come back with a bang in this country. Unbelievable. What does MG stand for? Or what did it stand for? I don't know if they kept the same.
I have no idea. MG? I have no idea, actually.
Should I tell him? Should I tell you? Or should we put it as a question? But I'm sure people are going to Google it before they answer the question. Morris Garage.
Okay.
obviously very, very British aristocracy in the 1930s, 40s and 50s. What car do you drive? A Morris Garage. I say, old chap. But,
Sounds, yeah.
but it's an unbelievable car. What is also amazing for me, we often talk about the onslaught of new brands. Now, the question
100%.
is, if each of them are quality, no junk, no rubbish, can the country accommodate all of them, or do you think there's too many? I have a very specific answer, in my opinion.
I think as long as we bring in quality at the end of the day and pricing is making sense, then I think the country can accommodate, it can open up to a lot more people.
That's exactly it. Now, again, we always talk about the past. Growing up, we had 3 steaks. I'm not lying to you. A rump, a fillet. In fact, we had 4. A rump, fillet, sirloin, and T-bone. Today,
Ribeye.
you got ribeye. We never heard of ribeye. In the 1980s and early 1990s, sushi in South Africa. Ask anybody if they had heard of sushi. No. Sushi came in. Sushi came in with, I think, what they call those little rolls. And then you got roses. Then you got maki. Then you got California rolls. The point I'm making is, if a product is good, you create an audience for it. Are we a growing population? Absolutely. Our car market is actually growing. So if we sell 500,000 cars in 2020 to a population of 55 million, in 2030, you'd expect to sell 700,000 cars to a population of 62 million. So we can accommodate that growth. The only advice I'll give any manufacturer, any dealership, bring in junk, price it wrong, and think you're going to take the public as fools, not going to work.
Because there's actually so much to look at. So when if you come in with junk, priced wrongly, the audience, the public, will show you that you actually did it wrong, because they'll be like, but your car is XYZ, but there is so many other brands that offer much better.
So we spoke earlier when we were talking about popular cars. I said the Toyota Quantum Hi-Ace Sesfakile 16-seater.
Yeah.
Besides the Toyota Quantum Hi-Ace Sesfakile 16-seater, give me one other car in that category that is available in South Africa brand new.
I don't think if it's still available. I stand to be corrected, but Nissan brought in. I
Correct.
just forgot the name.
The Nissan Impendulo.
Yes.
Very simple. And here's a prime example. Toyota Quantum, absolute market leader. You could open that sliding door 300 times an hour, won't break. Those engines would do 1 million kilometers. Nissan bring the Impendulo. It was soft.
Yeah.
You open that sliding door after 2 years. I promise you, and I'm going to do my best impression. It sounded like this. You could hear it. You could hear it rattling. Okay,
Yeah.
So there is no competitor for that. The Chinese, 8, 9, 10 years ago, they brought in Jinbei, they brought in Yinglong, they brought in GAC and all that
Yinglong.
rubbish.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because they thought, aha, Africa, 300,000 taxi operators, they can't afford a Toyota Quantum at XX, will undercut it, but it was rubbish. Again, service, quality, right pricing, and you will do well.
Does Nissan still sell the Impendulo?
They don't. It stopped in 2022, and it stopped for one reason.
I was about to ask
And
why.
this is one of the stories that I absolutely love telling. And Nissan marketing probably changed from 2014. I've been in this industry for 33 years. So in 2014, it was 23 years that I've been dealing with taxis. Nissan decided they were going to bring back the Impendulo in 2014. I remember the price correctly, 309,000 Rand. Very well priced. Now, at the time, there was a dealership called Melrose Nissan. They're still there. I knew the owner personally, Ryan Holmner. Ryan said to me, Mike, would you mind giving us a few minutes of your time to meet with Nissan marketing to give them your opinion on what they should do, bringing a 16-seater in to compete with Toyota? Now, remember, no fear or favor. All I want is brands to succeed. All I want is the public to have cheaper prices. 309,000 at the time was roughly 35 to 40,000 Rand, 10% cheaper than Toyota. I meet with Nissan marketing. I tell them 3 things that they've got to do, and this is where the story gets funny. In the 1980s and the 1990s, do you remember the Nissan 16-seater, what it was called?
Nope.
Nissan E20. Well-known taxi, Nissan E20. I said, if you're going to bring the bus back, call it a Nissan E20. Because why? Like the Toyota Hiace from the 1980s, carried it through, naming culture. Toyota Hilux never changed it.
Yeah.
You went from the Nissan Hardbody to the Nissan Navara. Decent success, but not quite Hilux success. So number one, call it the E20. They called it the Nissan Impindulo. 0 out of 1 for you, Nissan marketing. Number two, what engine do you need to bring in that car? Petrol or diesel? For the taxi market, where every single day they're doing hundreds of kilometers, every rand saved on fuel is critical.
So diesel, basically.
Absolutely.
D4D.
Today,
Toyota.
you look at the sales of the Toyota Hiace Esfakile, 90% are diesel, 10% are petrol. The 10% that are petrol are going to schools, companies, etc. The diesel is going to the taxis. Nissan did their homework and they decided they were going to bring out only petrol, no diesel option. Okay, now think about this. They did their homework, they don't bring out the diesel. You get 6 kilometers per litre on a Nissan Impindulo petrol. You get 10 kilometers per litre on a Toyota Hiace Quantum says for kilo diesel. So 40% worse. Number three, the best part is coming now. If you are targeting the taxi industry, pirate part, cheap replacement part, your wing mirrors, your headlights, your tail lights, your bumpers. I mean, you look at a taxi, with all due respect, every single day it's getting bumped.
100%.
Do you think a taxi driver is going to go to Nissan South Africa and spend 4,500 rand on a tail light or 6,000 rand on a headlight? So I told Nissan that they need to bring pirate parts, i.e. go to local manufacturers like they did with Quantum and say, guys, here's a bus. The bus is for you to use for a month. Strip it. Make us pirate part mirrors. Make it. When I say pirate, I'm not talking Hong Kong. I'm talking cheaper than we can. Because if we're looking to target an industry like the taxi industry and parts are cheap and available, they will buy it. If parts are not available, they won't buy it. So just to answer your question, do they still make the Nissan Impindulo? Toyota have been making 16-seaters from the 1970s until today, dominating. Nissan came in 2014 and left in 2022. The very funny part of the story is they told Ryan from Melrose Nissan that that guy that you brought to us was the biggest idiot, telling us to keep an old name, telling us to bring a diesel when we've investigated petrol, and telling us to bring in pirate parts. And all three of those were the exact reason the bus failed in South Africa. Taxis did not take to it.
And that car, or the taxi, was actually a good try from Nissan. It was a good alternative, essentially.
It was a good alternative. However, if you took the two and you put them side by side, I spoke about that sliding door.
Definitely.
You look at the material on the seats. The Nissan was 30, 40, 50,000 kilos. Those seats were physically cracking. Remember, hundreds of people in and out of a taxi a day. Okay? There's a reason that only Toyota, again, you may think this show is sponsored by Toyota. I assure you it's not. It's definitely not going to be sponsored by Nissan after that little analogy. However, when you're the best, like Toyota, nobody can touch you.
The day this show is sponsored by Toyota, best believe these books won't be here. You'll see Toyota badging, a Quantum, a Hilux, all those things over here. That's when you'll know we're sponsored by Toyota.
Let's put it this way. Would I be proud to be sponsored by Toyota? Absolutely, as I would by Porsche, Range Rover, Land Rover, you name it.
So just to wrap up this podcast, there's actually a topic that I'll touch on because actually I attended the Magnite launch. The influx of small compact SUVs. What are your thoughts about that? And which small compact, let's just say you had to buy a small compact SUVs. I don't know for what. Let's just say you had to buy. What is
my budget?
Budget, let's just say between 300,000 Rand and let's cap it at 450.
So again, when it comes to small SUVs, I must say I'm a huge Honda fan, but we're talking about new now.
New, brand new.
Cherry Tiggo 7, what are we looking at entry level there?
Entry level, that's just over 4, so you can get a Cherry Tiggo 7. So let's just say a 500,000 Rand. You can definitely get
it's
a Cherry
going to be the
7.
Cherry Tiggo 7.
Definitely Cherry
So
Tiggo
I just
7.
need to throw in one thing. Absolute entry level. 2 weeks ago, I hired it. Honda WRV. Have you driven one?
WRV. No.
Small little Honda.
No, I haven't.
It looks magnificent. WRV. Definitely not a performance car. 1200 normally aspirated, 5-speed gearbox.
Okay.
You can only get into 5th gear on a downhill. But beautiful looking car. I'm a huge Honda fan. But if you're looking for the best value for money, combination of tech, combination of reliability or perceived reliability, for me, how do you do better than a Cherry Tiggo 7?
I think it's a good option. I personally would go for the Haval Julian. I love the look of the Haval, the new Haval.
Do you love the look of it?
I love the look.
Now, interesting, and again, I respect GWM, I respect Haval. The Jolion, I think, is great. It's, the look specifically, is something about it that just doesn't work for me.
So yeah, I prefer that. So there's actually, just to name a few, so you get
Sherry, if you want to sponsor a show, call me. Haval, if you want to sponsor a show, call him.
Call me. That's easier. Call me. Yeah.
Call him always.
I'm even driving a Haval GWM right now, so I think I'm the best person to call. So for the audience, I actually want you guys to comment down below, which one would you guys go for? I'm giving you guys 300,000 Rand to 500,000 Rand. What small compact SUVs can you go for? Just to name a few, from the lower end, around 300,000 Rand, you're looking at. I really love this one. Michael better not shout at me. Suzuki Fronx. I really love that one. So you can get a Suzuki Fronx, the Toyota Starlet Cross, which is basically a dupe of the Suzuki Fronx.
Correct.
You can get a Cherry Tiggo 4 Pro as well. There is the Toyota Urban Cruiser, Suzuki Grand Vitara. There's the Nissan Magnite, the review, so that's 6. There's the Honda Elevate, that's 7.
As you're saying this, isn't it just incredible to think how many choices we've got?
100%.
And I've always said the year is 2024. You can only make a mistake by not taking your time, not asking the right people, not looking around.
Yeah.
Every one of those cars, in no particular order,
Yeah.
do you agree, could buy it with your eyes closed or wide open?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But as you were saying, it was just like, wow.
There is so many. I think there's a good over 10 vehicles in just that bracket. So I want you guys to comment down below which one you'd get and why you'd get it. I think the why is very important, so we can see if the reasoning is worth it.
But that, for me, we talk about the comments, is what I love the most. I am a gentleman, middle-aged. I am a lady in my 20s. How everybody's got a different perception of why that car is for them.
Yes.
Comments, start the debates, keep it friendly, and we'll moderate. You spoke about replying to all the comments. Nothing gives me greater pleasure than seeing people comment positively, or please believe me, you don't have to agree with us. This is not a dictatorship, okay? I've always said 2 + 2 is 4. Everything else is an opinion. Share with us. But talking about 2024, and I mentioned to you, you cannot make a mistake by doing your homework. This show, Keep It or Change Cars, something that I'd love to share with the audience.
Okay.
When you go online and you want to buy a car, is it fair to say you're looking at two things? 1, the car, and 2, the dealership? Or would you disagree? Is it only the car?
No, and the dealership is very important where I'm buying the vehicle. It's very, very important.
When we launched Change Cars in June 2021, there was one goal: to make sure you, as the buyer, could not be scammed. When I say be scammed, that you don't go to a Joburg Central dealership, a Kempton Park dealership, a Durban Central dealership, wherever the case may be, and you just say, wow, but the price looked so good, and now the car's turned out to be a rebuild. The price looked so good, but I thought there would be an engine for 300,000 Rand, and the engine's in the boot, and it's supposed to be in the front. How do you make sure that the dealership you are buying from is not a scam or not bad? How do you do it?
Go on the Change Cars website and check for that 5-star rating.
5-star, 100%.
100%.
So if I book a hotel, if I do anything, the way I find out about the product is I look at what fellow consumers have said. Google reviews, hello Peter. Do you ever look at that?
Yeah, I do. I think I'm even actually going away on a trip end of this month, and before I booked that house, I was like, what are the reviews saying?
Yes.
Because I would need to know what people are saying about the place before I go. If I see a place as beautiful as it is, if it has no reviews, I'm not booking.
100%. I go on to review. I go to the latest. As I go on, I see 5-star, wow, wow, and wow. The reception was friendly. Wow, wow, wow. Food was amazing. Rooms were excellent. I don't even need to look further because I've gone to latest. Flip side is I go on, I say, wow, what a disappointment. Cannot believe the lack of service. So why am I talking about Google and Hello Peter? Did you know that ChangeCars is the only website in South Africa, factually? We look at our competitors who we respect immensely. They do not have the ability to show you the Google reviews or the Hello Peter reviews. Go onto our website, go choose any single car. You see it's being sold by ABC Motors. Click on the ABC Motors logo. It will pop up there. Google review, Hello Peter reviews. What does that tell you? And I'm not trying to make ourselves sound important, but what does that tell you?
That we transparent. We can show you if there's any issues that we've had in the past, allowing people to actually express
Correct.
their problems.
And we've had that from the very beginning. I'd like to be Nostradamus and make a prediction. After this podcast, everybody else is going to copy us. Why? Because they'll have to. But keep it or change cars, the podcast. It's got to come to an end at some time. I can see you don't want to end it. I don't want to end it. But 6 hours later, no, I'm joking. An hour later, I hope we've delivered what we hope to deliver today.
Yeah, I think we covered so good topics. If you don't learn from these conversations that we had today, then I honestly don't know what more I can do. But it was great being in studio.
I thought you were going to say, if you don't learn from these conversations, blame me. I take full responsibility.
Yeah, no, but the conversations today were very helpful. We spoke about a lot, and I loved the listener questions. Guys, please bring those in. Let's have it a feature. Let's make it an every episode thing where there is always a listener question you need to know. But I hope you guys did like the content today. We spoke about so much. I hope you guys did learn. If you didn't learn, blame Michael Pashut. But yeah, we need to end this eventually because the guy that's actually controlling all the cameras and everything is telling us.
But before we end it, we spoke in our last podcast about if there's no pep in town, there is no town. People loved that. They said, oh, well, there's 5 peps in my town, but what about KFC? Who's the shout out to today? Chicken place, where are we going after this? What have I become a convert to?
Chicken Licken. He loves it with everything in him. And that's where we're going. But I'll see you guys on the next episode. I'm Nikki. That's Michael. And we're signing out.